When starting your color, you are going to want to think of some kind of shape to put off-center. Think rule of thirds. You don't want to right in the middle. I'm doing a circle, but you could do like a scalene triangle, any kind of triangle. You could do a stripe, you could do a rectangle. The main thing here is whatever shape you choose, you want it to be off-center. You want it to be over an area that has quite a bit of objects, not just negative space. And you want to make sure you go back and you erase any pencil that's kind of dark so that you can barely see it. We don't want to see it when it's all finished. When you begin coloring, you want it to be a nice, even, but light layer of color. Remember, this is just the base layer. We can come back and we can add more value later if we decide we want it darker in areas. Okay, so here I'm just very lightly creating an even layer of pigment over all of my different areas of color. Now that I'm just finishing up coloring, I am going to change the brightness of the projector so that you can see this area of color just a little bit better. Now that I have a light, even layer of pigment over my area, I am going to start adding kind of some water to a paintbrush to start smoothing out my pigment. So you want to start with the lightest areas first. You really want to make sure you kind of go around the boundary areas of that specific color and only add as much water as you really need to blend out that color. I'm using my paper towel quite a bit to dab out a lot of water before going over this. So see how I have a little extra? Your paintbrush can also work like a sponge. So if you find that you have quite a bit, just dry out your paintbrush and then dip it in that kind of puddly area and it will absorb back some of that moisture. Okay, so work your way from kind of the top left down to the bottom right so your hand isn't going in your paint. You can also rotate your paper as needed to make sure that your hand is not going into any of the wet areas. I would just recommend starting with one whole area, letting it dry before you color a different area that would be touching that. You don't want any colors bleeding out and mixing on those boundary areas. Now that my background area has dried a little bit, I'm going to come back in and do the objects in my shape and blend out those colors. Again, starting with my lighter values first, and then coming back and doing the darker values.